Hey everybody, it's Lori with the Catch a Pocket Podcast, and tonight, musician Harrison Steele. Harrison is out there in the city playing live. Catch him if you can see him. He's on Facebook and Instagram. I'll put his links on the notes of this page. He also has a new album out called Love Over Fear. It's really cool. Check it out. Totally a Sunday jam. Clean your house to it. It's awesome. So don't forget to like, subscribe, mash the bell if you're watching this on YouTube, so you can see when our next episodes come out, when my next episodes come out, and what's coming up in the future. Sometimes not very prepared. Let me know if I could do anything better. I know I can, so you don't really have to let me know. And with that being said, here is local legend, artist, soothing crooner, Harrison Steele. Stay tuned to the end and I'll play another song from Harrison's album. I'm here with Harrison Steele, and Harrison is a musician in town. He plays out live. He's basically part of the local scene right now that's playing out all over the city for your pleasure. Harrison, thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me, Lori.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, and I really enjoy watching you. When I do go out, I try to catch you because I like your music. It's awesome.
Thank you.
All right, so here on Catch a Pocket, we talk about you. So just basically, were you born here in Wichita?
I was, yeah. Well, okay, technically, I was born in Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
Most people don't know that. People are gonna know that I'm not a Wichita native. No. I only lived there for like less than a year. My
so
mom.
You don't remember it?
No. My mom and dad were there for my grandfather's business at the time, so they moved back to Wichita shortly after I was born. So yeah, I grew up in Wichita my whole life. You know, I consider it my hometown.
Right. So from one on. So did the business not work out, or what happened to? It
did. They moved back.
They just wanted to be here.
My grandpa still had family. I mean, here in Wichita, so I think they just wanted to move stuff back home, or I think he either sold what he was doing and just started something new in Wichita, I think.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you went to school in Wichita all your life? Was it private school or was it public school?
I started out at Montessori, actually.
Oh, okay,
Do you remember off of Douglas? I mean, you're from here, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. The Montessori school is where I first started school.
How long did you go there?
Man, it feels like it was a couple years. I was young. It was before kindergarten.
Oh, okay. So preschool, you were in Montessori?
It was like, maybe like a year or two of preschool at Montessori. And I love that place. I mean, it sucks that it's closed down. We don't really have another Montessori school because the way they teach learning is like how my brain works. It's all very hands-on and
and you can kind of choose what
you want to do.
Then.
Exactly.
But
like
you have to do
certain
things.
They don't just force you all into the same cookie cutter, you know, which was cool. So then I went from there to Blessed Sacrament.
Regiment.
Yeah, which was different. You know, it's like, okay, now you got to do this. I mean, kindergarten was pretty easy, and I'm grateful for that because I ended up meeting my best friend.
Really?
Yeah, that I've known. His name's Patrick Hesse.
And you've known him since then?
Yeah.
Till now?
Yep. I talked to him on the phone for like 3 hours last night because we're best friends, but we are both very busy, and he's a musician as well. So we only catch up maybe like
You don't play together. You play separate.
No, Well, I had him come from Colorado and play at my release show.
Oh, okay.
He played the keys there, but yeah, we're so busy that we only catch up maybe like once or twice a month. But when we do, it's like 3 hours, and then we're like, all right, talk to you next month. You know, it's so
that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
So you met him in kindergarten.
Kindergarten at Blessed Sacrament. I remember we used to do puzzles together.
That was your deal.
We were like the puzzle masters of kindergarten. People were like, wow, look at they're so good at puzzles. And we're like, yeah.
Bring on more puzzles.
But anyway, yeah, we formed that really close bond, and I've always had that, you know, like just the kind of that feeling of like we're in our own world, you know, and no one else can touch us. And and I feel like even though that we've gone down kind of different paths, I feel like having that at a young age kind of helped me keep that my whole life of like being in my own creative world and not letting people would make fun of us like, oh, you guys do puzzles or whatever, and we're like, whatever, man, we love puzzles, you know. So it's kind of that thing of just being your own person and being in your own world and not caring what other people think, and that's a big part of how I make music, I think. So
and being an artist in general,
being an artist and doing your own thing, going against the grain sometimes. So yeah, it was and then I went to Blessed Sacrament through, you know, from kindergarten through 8th grade, and then went to Capon for high school. Yeah.
Did you play sport or did you play music at the time? Or?
You know, it's interesting. I would say like my aha moment of wanting to be a musician. Yeah. I always tell everybody came in high school, like sophomore year of high school, I was in art class because I was an artist my entire life growing up. Like, it doesn't matter what it was, drawing, painting, photography, filmmaking. But in art class at Capon, sophomore year, a girl brought in this album because the teacher was really cool. He let us play music, and every day would be a different person's choice. So this girl brought in this album called In Between Dreams by Jack Johnson. Oh, okay. And totally. And she put it on, and the very first song there is called Better Together. Yeah. And that song, like, just struck a chord with me, like literally and figuratively and metaphorically in every way you can think of, because I was like, what is this, you know? I need to learn how to do this, is what I thought. And I think also what it was, like, deeper inside was that I had a lot of anxiety and kind of stuff growing up, and pretty to myself, like I said, and kind of social anxiety, and it kind of helped me. It was just very soothing. The music, when I heard it, I was like, this like soothes my soul, literally. I feel it, and I love it, and I want to recreate this myself. So that was, I totally get that. 100%. That was right, and so that was it. It soothed me, and I was like, man, this is great. And so I asked my mom. Just spoke to you. It really did. Yeah. It got in deep, and I asked my mom for a guitar for Christmas or my birthday. I think it was my birthday that year. Yeah. We went to a pawn shop. You picked one out. I picked out some $100 guitar. Yeah. Like, I think it was called, the brand name was like Hondo or something. Sure. I was like, what? I mean, at that time I didn't know guitars, so I didn't really. Was it an acoustic or electric? Yeah, it was acoustic. Acoustic. Yep. Okay. Cool. Acoustic guitar. Yeah, so that was my first guitar. It still hangs in my basement to this day. It doesn't work anymore because I ended up leaving it out in the rain one time, and it bowed, and then the neck just snapped. Oh, so yeah, but anyways, it served me well to learn my first chords and all that. So what was the first time you played out in front of people? Okay, so that would have been. I'm skipping stuff. But no, that's fine. Like, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, I got the guitar, my first guitar in sophomore year, but then I played it. I tried playing it. I tried to learn. Let's not say, I'm not going to say I played it. It was more like I fumbled my way through chords and tabs on the internet until I just got frustrated and was like, this is too hard. Like, I can't do this. I'm done. It's way too hard. So then I didn't really play it like the rest of sophomore year after my initial interest in it until like senior year again, I think, when I was a little more mature,
Yeah.
And I think I had some other musical friends that were doing stuff, and then that inspired me again. And I was like, I'm gonna try this again. So I started playing again, like at the end of high school.
Yeah.
I'm playing through college a little bit.
Where'd you go to college while we're there?
I went to Butler for 2 years for my associate's degree, like straight out of Capon. And I still wasn't performing yet, like live anywhere. I was just performing in my room and writing songs in my room. And it wasn't until, let's see, so I went to Butler for 2 years. Then I went to KU for a year.
Okay.
And then moved back home, took a semester off of college, and then started playing at, I went back to school at WSU.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm finishing up my degree, and towards the end of finishing college is when I started going to open mics. That's where like the playing live started for myself, and I think for a lot of people. You know, when anyone who's younger than me or anyone who comes up to me at a show and they ask, you know, how'd you get into this? How'd you get to playing live all the time? And I'm like, well, I was terrified, and I went to open mics until I stopped being terrified. Basically, is what I did.
Stopped hurting so bad, huh?
Yeah. I went to my first open mic it was actually at Rock Island Live.
Okay.
On their back patio there.
Okay.
And I think this guy, David Dam, was hosting the open mic, and I went up there, and I can't even remember the song I played. I don't even know, but I just
petrified?
Oh yeah, yeah. I was like, I mean, I was shaking. I was nervous. I was just, and I'm like, just go. And so I go forward, and I get about halfway through the song, and I'm just like, I'm done. You know, like I'm sorry, I'm done.
Oh, you didn't finish?
No, I didn't finish first. I didn't even finish my first song.
I think that's normal.
But it was, it was like it was a learning lesson, and it was one of the things that inspired me to keep going is that I didn't make it to the song, so I stepped off the stage, and
then like 20 people told you did good.
And especially that's exactly what happens at open mics, because everybody is supportive. And so
they're not there to shit on you.
No,
you know? They're at open mic night.
Right,
you know?
you're there.
Anything could happen.
Right. You're there to express yourself and try new stuff, and especially if you're a beginner, like that's what it's for. So. But that's not what it feels like. Even when you're a beginner, you're like, everyone's watching me, and like this is, you
want to be perfect.
Right, you're tense. So
you want to be perfect, and you're totally nervous. It's impossible.
You're right, and that's how you learn. So I got off stage, and I remember David and some other people told me, "Hey man, hey, great job, man. Come back next week," is what they said. And I was like, okay, I will. Like it was just kind of like that. I just needed that little push. Like, all right, I will. And so I literally made it my goal. That was at the beginning of the summer of 2013. So at this point, I had graduated from WSU, and I was just working a part-time job with a buddy of mine, and I'm going to this open mic every Thursday of the entire summer of 2013, and that was my goal. I'm like, I'm going back until I get comfortable on this freaking stage. Like I'm doing it. It was so I was just so determined. So
did it work?
Yeah. I mean, here I am. I was just kidding.
That's true. Second album, you're doing well.
Right.
They're really nice produced albums, really nice.
Thank
put
you.
Together pieces of art.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Sure. So I don't want to go too far though.
Okay, we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
Back when I first started playing.
Yeah. Yeah, the open mics are what got you playing.
Yes, open mics are just
And so that was after you graduated though, that whole summer after that you kind of worked and did that and just concentrated on honing. Now did you play like other people's music, or did you write songs and play them on open mic?
You know, at that point I think, well, here's the thing. From the first time I ever picked up a guitar, I only wanted to do one thing, which was to write my own music. Like
you never wanted to play other people's songs?
No,
Oh wow,
no.
that's awesome.
It was like I don't know why. I didn't even learn Jack Johnson songs right when I got a guitar. Partly because they were too hard at the time, and I was like, wow, I can't even play a bar chord. How am I supposed to play his songs? But no, I always just had that feeling like I even have, I mean, one of the songs on this album, Love Over Fear, I think it's track 12. It's called "You by My Side," and it's like the oldest song on any of my albums. Like, cause it's one of the very first songs I wrote that I was like, I think that's pretty good. And yeah, it sounds pretty similar. It's inspired by Jack Johnson. It's got his kind of that feel. But I was like the way that I wrote it and the lyrics and everything, I was like, man, that's actually pretty decent, I think. Like, I mean, I couldn't tell, but it ended up on this album over 10 years later. So I'm like,
if you find some peace of mind, go on and do what you like. But if you're searching for something you can't find, you're not alone in this life. Sometimes it's hard to make sense of it all when things just turn out wrong. But you've gotta stay on top of it all to fit the pieces where they belong. Oh, come on. We've got to listen to our hearts. Yeah, 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 yeah. 'Cause yours and mine, they're not so far apart. And there's no telling where we're going or why, but I've got you by my side. Yes, and I got you by my side. We got plenty of time to waste. Yeah, there's no hurry tonight. Go on and turn down your noisy brainwaves and turn up the music you like. 'Cause worries prey on one's mind like mine, and yours and theirs alike. But when we're together we can rest those lies on. Yeah, we can make everything alright, alright. We've got to listen to our hearts. Yeah, 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 yeah. 'Cause yours and mine, they're not so far apart. There's no telling where we're going or why, but I've got you by my side. Yes, and I got you by my side. Listen to our hearts. Yeah, 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 yeah. 'Cause yours and mine, they're not so far apart. And there's no telling where we're going or why, but I've got you by my side. Yes, and I got you by my side.
Like I said, I my whole goal when I first got the guitar was I just want to write what I'm feeling, basically, and write songs from my heart. And I think it was something I really needed, actually, too, because not only did hearing Jack Johnson or really any music has like that healing effect or that relatable effect, but also producing it and singing it yourself is like that is super healing and can really be, it's like writing or journaling or any type of art really is getting just that release of emotions
in the way that you know how.
Right, and what feels natural. And yeah, I mean, it feels so, it's so interesting now, because back then it was like I had to really try hard to write a chord progression and then put lyrics to it. And now I feel like I can pick up a guitar and write a song like at any point in the day. Like, they're not always good. Like, the good ones come from inspiration.
Right.
But I'm just happy that my capabilities of being able to play have grown to where I'm like, if I'm thinking an idea, I can at least test it out really quick without having to spend so much time just figuring out the fingering or figuring out the technical parts of it.
Right.
It allows you to just kind of flow. And
like knowing the chord progressions, what works together, or what you're working on right now.
Yeah.
It's just music, but you have some words that you want to try to throw in there and see if they fit.
Exactly, yeah.
Or don't fit, or however you want it to be.
Right?
Yeah, yeah. So that's really, I don't know, I think that's pretty damn inspiring just right there, because it's just, that's digging deep into yourself and not worrying about what everybody else thinks.
Right.
And just kind of, it's healing for you. And so it's just a win all the way around, because you're like, you could be touching the person, the next song could be someone listening to you in art class.
Yeah, I know, that's so
like,
cool.
Ding, you know.
See, and that, I mean, that's what it's about. I feel like it's just, I mean, really all of music and art and everything has that type of, well, not like end goal, but it's like if you can make someone else in the world feel less alone or feel related to, then that's amazing, whether it's one or a million people. You know, and some songs,
sometimes it's a million people.
Right.
I can't even imagine what that must be like.
Yeah.
Like, how do you digest that exactly?
I know. I'm still
I don't know.
I'm still waiting for that, or like hoping for that, you know.
I hope for that for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, let's do this. I'll be so happy beyond words. So we're talking about your music and kind of how you started playing, and from there, like, have you studied more music, or did you?
So I've been in one band a couple years ago. They still play around town. And then I just assembled this band just for the release show. And
then you play on your own,
yeah, I mainly play solo. You know, that's my main thing.
Right, and you play with the drummer.
I do play, and then I have random gigs where I just bring in the drummer just for fun.
What's that guy's name that I see?
Fayola. He's a great guy, and so
awesome.
he's got good energy, and he's so gracious and just a cool dude and good friend of mine now. Like, we've grown over time, and so I like if it's something special, if it works with his schedule. He's really busy with his other job he does, but if he has time, it's fun to always mix it up a little bit with the drummer. And because
you have. Like what you're using right now, you use pedals, you use synth mic kind of things happening there.
I use
a chorus.
a little bit. So what I use is I have I use a loop pedal, so I can loop, loop a melody and then play over it. Yeah. Or even what I like to do is build up like a chorus play a melody and then do some kick drum sounds, like by beating on the guitar on the low end, and then make a snare sound by doing a chuka, like palm mute on the strings. Right, okay. And you kind of build this whole little song, and that's fun just to mix it up for me as a musician, as opposed to just playing straight through just the whole song. Sure. Then you can bring in these different parts, and then when I come to the chorus and like kind of drop the beat, basically, then I'll usually punch in my vocal harmony pedal just on certain little parts. You know, it's like certain words you want to have that nice third harmony on, and just make it sound a little more full. And I try not to overuse the harmony pedal because I think they can be a little cheesy.
Sure, I mean, maybe.
So I like to keep it minimal. Right. And I've had a lot of, in my years of performing, had a lot of people tell me, like sound guys, like, hey man, that sounded really good. Like normally sometimes people, it sounds cheesy when people use those, but you did it right. And I was like, thank you. Like, so I think I don't want it to be a crutch, you know?
Right. But some songs you just need that harmony, you know, like that harmony is part of the chorus of the song.
Exactly. And that's like whenever I recorded stuff, I was always like, well, I want to be able to replicate this, how it sounds on the album live. Like, so if it has that harmony there, I want that to be there. Yeah. And if it has, you know, drums, and I can do the loop pedal. But yeah, it's playing with a band is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Playing by yourself is easier to make a living at music.
Because you get all the money.
Right, right. You don't have to pay anyone else.
Right.
But it's
you don't have to fight over who got the deal or who counted the money or any of that stuff either.
It's a give and take though, because it is a little more pressure. Like everything's relying on you. It's all on you.
All those loops.
Yeah.
When did that? I mean, that took a long time to do, didn't it?
Well, I make everything live on the spot. Like I don't have nothing's pre-recorded, so I just.
So you can't just step on a button and be like, "This is that one song."
No, I do it all again live, and I don't use any type of like tempo thing. So it's all just you gotta have really good timing and have just step on it at the right time and then stop it at the right time.
Yeah. That must have taken forever to learn, like with it sounding good, because it sounds great.
Yeah, to make it sound seamless, like when you go from the loop back into live playing, like that is a little challenging. And then it just takes experience and practice and
doing it over and over.
And when you play, I've been playing 3 to 5 gigs a week for the past few years. So I have.
Did you get to play all during COVID?
Well, okay, yeah, minus the COVID time. I did live streams. I did.
Yeah, I saw you.
Did a couple live streams from home, and then Chicken and Pickle had me out doing live streams from their main stage.
Yeah.
Which I still play there every Thursday from 7 to 9.
I need to learn pickleball. I think it looks cool.
It is fun, you know.
Is it really?
It's great exercise and it's really fun.
So. Yeah.
Like
it's not
I love it.
High impact either.
No, that's why you see like quite a few elderly people playing it, because it's pretty low impact, but you can also get a good sweat up and have a fun time.
Get your cardio on.
Fun. And a little competitive too, you know. People get pretty competitive about it.
It's okay.
Well, that's kind of
we're gonna win, but
that's why that's why I've always liked art. It's not competitive necessarily. I mean, you can make it competitive, but it really shouldn't be. I like to, when I'm not playing music, I love to be out listening to other people playing music. Like I love to go and if I can, when I have time. Unfortunately, sometimes a lot of us musicians are playing at the same time as each other.
Exactly.
So it's hard to catch everyone, but I do when I can. If I'm not playing and I'm not have some other commitment, I like to just go out and find where the live music's at.
Right. Find out who you want to see and go. Find them.
Exactly.
That's cool. So, okay, did we cover enough of your youth?
I think so. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. We got lost there at some point.
Well, we just took off onto music, which is
fine. I know.
This is an arts podcast, so it's fine. Sometimes people tangent out onto, I got married when I was 20, and
I was trying to stay linear, like
London.
I was trying to stay linear. I was like, we started here, we go here, but then I went whoop over there.
It's okay.
Now we're
back.
back.
You didn't ever move to London.
No.
And you stayed here in Wichita or Kansas or Lawrence or.
I did move to Denver in 2000. Well, I guess we should touch on that really quick, because when I started playing in 2013, that whole summer we're doing open mics. Then I ended up playing my first gig by myself at this coffee shop called The Kiln, which is on Douglas and Hillside. It's now closed down. It's something else. It's like a fashion store or something. But I played my first gig there, and then I played a couple, probably about 10 more gigs in Wichita. I like coffee shops and small little places.
Right.
And then I don't know what happened. I just kind of lost my passion for it, or maybe I don't know. I was just like, this is really hard again. I don't know if I want to keep doing this.
Right.
So I ended up, and maybe it was just a time to get out of Wichita, and I like feeling that I got to get out of my hometown kind of antsy feeling.
Sure.
So I ended up just on a whim kind of just moving out to Colorado to live with my best friend Pat, who I talked about a minute ago.
In Denver?
Yeah, just right outside of Denver, between Denver and Boulder in Westminster. And I just moved out there on a whim, didn't have a job, didn't have anything. I was just like, I need to go. It's time to go. So I left, packed up all the stuff I had in my car that I could fit. And I was like, later. And that was scary, but I don't know. Something just told me to go. And it was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life, because I ended up moving out to Colorado and working these marketing and promotional jobs with my friend Pat, where we're out talking to people about other brands and promoting their brands at events, handing out coupons or even just guerrilla marketing on the streets. and passing out the actual product, like handing people Nature Valley granola bars on Pearl Street, you know, like stuff like that, and saying, and then
so
and then
you had to be like get out of your
out
shell.
of my yes, it broke me out of my comfort zone, and it totally put me out of my element, and it made me a way more comfortable person with just being social with everyone.
Oh, cool.
And that was huge in terms of playing music, because music, half of it is talking to people, like, and being social and connecting with people. So yeah, I did that for 3 years, and I ended up working my way up and becoming like a marketing what am I trying to say, tour manager. So I would go on tour with different brands and take them around. Like, I traveled from, there was one, the last tour I did was a 4-month tour, and I traveled from Oregon to, or sorry, I started in Washington, went from Denver to Washington to Oregon, California, and then back up the coast. And we were just stopping at marathon expos and handing out samples of this product and talking about it.
Oh, cool.
So it taught me a lot about marketing a brand, which ended up
is like
working
for
out.
Yourself, right? I mean,
So I moved back.
Been like a touring musician, that's the same.
Exactly.
You would have done the same gig.
Exactly. So I spent all this time, and in the background, I always had my guitar with me. I was always still playing, still writing.
Cool.
So I spent all this time doing all this marketing for other people's brands. And then at some point, while I was on the road, I remember calling my dad and telling him, I think I want to make a career out of music. Like, I was like, I think I can do this now. And a lot of that came from the inspiration and the confidence I gained, I think, from working with all these other brands. I worked with hundreds of brands, from like Pepsi to Google to Bob's Red Mill, and all these brands that taught me how to market their brand. And now I was like, I'm going to take this and do this with my own brand. Yeah. So I moved back to Wichita, and after going through some health issues and some other things that kind of took me out for about a year, I finally started playing again in 2017.
Okay. And that's probably when I caught wind of you, because you were playing at Peerless at the time, and I had heard somebody said, we're gonna go see this new up and coming musician when you want to come, and I was like, sure, let's go. And you were great. I was like, this guy's good. You know, I started telling people, this guy's good. Go check him out.
Was I solo or with the band at that time?
You were, I want to say, maybe you were playing with another band. Like, a band was behind you, but you were just subbing in for them or something like that.
That might have been
Airplane or something. I can't remember. No, but they were like Harrison Steele, and you did on your own. Like, they left, and you did like a little
bit by myself, and then they came back
and did some of their songs, or maybe cover tunes or something.
Interesting.
Like that. But I was there for part of that, and because I'm old, I go home.
Sure.
And but I listened to like 5 songs, and I'm like, okay, I'm over my limit.
Right. Yeah, that must have been when I started. I mean, after I had played around town for about a year by myself, then I met some guys. Actually, it's a guy that I went to high school with who was a year younger than me, these 2 guys. Okay. And I met them at the Barleycorns open mic. Back now it's like 2017. I'm back in Wichita again, and I'm still going back to open mics to like, because that's the place you meet people, and that's the place you still try out. And now I've got all these new original songs that I've written on the road that I'm like, I want to try these out. Yeah. And so then I meet Gabe and Kyle there, and they say,
it's Gabe and Kyle.
Yeah, they say, hey, do you want to come sing? Do you want to come start a band or like be a part? We got this band going on called Jambulance. And I'm like, cool.
Ah, yes.
So I check. Totally. He's like, just come. And I remember telling him like up front, I was like, yeah, I mean, I really just want to play my own music, you know, but I'll come check it out. And I ended up going there, and I just had a good time. Like, it was fun. And this other cat showed up, Ryan Baker, who's on the album, and he was at the release show.
Oh, okay.
He plays lead guitar. He's really amazing. And so us 4 start jamming, and I bring all these original songs that we start playing my stuff with the full band, and that was cool. And so then but I just remember thinking like, I wasn't digging the name Jambulance. So like some of the first gigs we played that you might have seen me at we were calling. I was just saying it was like Steele and Jambulance.
Oh, okay.
Because I wanted to be separate. I was like, I'm not Jambulance. I'm sorry. Like, because I didn't want to be a jam band. I wanted to play songs that were like structured and had a start, finish, and end, and told a story.
You didn't just go off on a tangent where people were just dancing frivolously.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes that's cool with the band, and I like that now. But back then, I just wanted to. I wanted my songs a certain way. So.
Yeah.
But anyway, so. I end up, or Gabe and I, we were all at band practice. We ended up discussing, like, all right, what do we call the band, you know? And we end up settling on the Plains.
Oh, okay. The Plains is what it was.
Yes.
And it's the Plains like
the Plains of Kansas, basically.
Not the Plains like the aeroplanes.
Nope, not aeroplanes, the Plains of Kansas. So we settled on the Plains, and we started, you know, we played together for about a year.
Yeah. Like you would do your own, and then they would.
No, we played. I mean,
like the whole time together?
Yeah, we played together.
Okay.
Well, sorry, no. I was still doing. Yes, I was still doing my solo gigs while playing with them as well.
Right. Yeah, totally.
So yeah, and
I think I only caught them and you one time, but
gotcha.
I caught you many places because you play more. You know,
yeah,
you just play out more.
Sure.
You know, you got that stuff worked out.
Right.
It's good for you.
Yeah, for sure.
So okay, you had some bands, but you play on your own. You do all the production yourself. So let's talk about your albums because you have 2 albums.
Yep.
You have one album is Harrison Steele, self-titled album.
Yep,
and
debut
that was your
album.
first one. And
correct.
Where did that fall from when you lived in Colorado? Like you went there, you came back.
Yes. I made that album in 2018.
So after.
Yep. So I was working on that in 2008. Yeah, I'd moved back and I was playing all these shows in Wichita and just kind of riding this wave where I was like, whoa, this is awesome. Like, I can do this for a living. Like, I mean, I was still working a little bit of side jobs with a buddy of mine doing some construction, but he was helping me slowly transition to being able to do it full time, like being flexible with me. And
cool.
Yeah, so that was really helpful of my friend Jake to be able to allow me that transitional period and not have to just like jump right into playing music full time.
Right. Because you need money. You need that security.
Right.
But,
yeah, but as I played more, I continued writing songs and pulled some old songs and reworked on them, and then I ended up doing the album, working on that in 2018, and then putting it out in 2019 on May 1st, which was my 30th birthday. Oh, wow. Yeah, I was like...
That's major.
Yeah, I was like, I got to do something big, and I... You know, I always, ever since I picked up a guitar, I also always wanted to make an album.
Right.
So
it's a really high quality album. Hopefully that Harrison will let me use like one track off of that one and then one track off the new one.
Yeah, please.
And I would love to do that. And
that'd be awesome.
I have some of my favorites, but you know, he can suggest as well. You can guide me. So from there, you kind of... Did you tour on that album, like go around places and sell your wares elsewhere, or did you just kind of stick here and launch it over the internet?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I basically just stayed around Wichita. Well, Kansas, I did a couple, like I'd go up to Salina or Newton or Hutchinson and do some shows up there.
And you opened for some
people? 2018 was a wild year. It was interesting.
Yeah,
I ended up I was playing a lot. I ended up going and doing American Idol.
Oh yeah.
And I was on there I went through about 5 auditions and was on TV for about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
I didn't quite make the cut onto the show itself, but
you were right there, weren't you?
Yeah, it was right there, and it was a great experience because after that, I remember talking to Lionel Richie, and he was like, "Man, you got a smoky, soulful voice that I like, Harrison." He's just like doing this. He's like, "I like it, and I just don't think you're right for this show, man." And I was like, "It's cool." And I took it in stride, and he shook my hand and was like, "Man, keep doing what you're doing. You got a good energy about you." He said, "I can tell you do this for a living." And I said, "Yeah." And he told me about the Commodores not making it 50 times with different record labels, and so I left there feeling really inspired. Like I know some people go on that show and they're just crushed. You know, they're like, "Oh," but I ended up leaving there and I was like, I'm gonna go home and start working on my album. You know, like I'm gonna do this.
Right.
So
and you
yeah,
learn things as you're there and you're watching all this shit
Yes.
go around you.
Yeah.
The production of the whole thing is
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
major.
Yeah.
So it's like a well-oiled machine probably going around you, and you're learning the whole time
Right.
and taking it all in. Like,
Yep.
how can you better yourself when you get back, or how can you do it again? Or,
For sure.
Or maybe what's the next thing that's more my style than American
Yeah.
Idol?
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Definitely.
Totally, I'm into it.
Yeah, and then I mean, right there after the American Idol thing, then I've been playing at Mort's, you know, quite a bit, and Train came through town, and they ended up having a last minute like family emergency with their opener, so they needed an opener here in Wichita at Hartman Arena, and
Nice.
I have been playing at Mort's, and they wanted original music, you know, and I think.
See, that's helpful.
Right, because I know Emma knew that I wanted to play my original music, and so she gave out my name along with some other musicians in town, and they ended up giving me a call, you know,
really
and
cool.
and he says, you know, we checked out your website and it looks really professional, and thank God I had just spent a bunch of months working on my website and
You
getting
do
it
that yourself?
updated. Yeah, I do
Awesome.
everything myself
Very,
behind the
very
scenes.
Artistic
It's
and
a
very
lot,
well done.
a lot of work. Thank you.
You do the photography?
My buddy Justin helps me with that. He does most. I do a little bit myself, but most of the stuff you see is probably taken by him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those pictures of you and stuff. He's he's the guy behind the camera. on
Usually, yep.
that. Awesome, because those are really good. Like, I don't know what kind of camera he uses, but wow.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate
about
that.
Yeah, it's just as good as any other one. I mean, that you could even find out on the market right now. So
Right. Sure.
there you go. That's what you're going after.
Oh yeah, definitely. Quality.
So Train was a big highlight of 2018. You turned 30 on that
It
year,
was.
too?
No,
Or is it
2019 I turned 30.
Okay.
Yeah. So I
I
did
was
the
like, wow, you had a big build up for 30, didn't you?
well, yeah, kind of. I mean, I guess so, cuz yeah, I did the Train show, and then after that I was just working on the album the rest of 2018, and then into 2019. And I ended up running into Brody Wellman.
Oh yeah, he's great.
You know Brody,
I
yeah.
love Brody.
I had
He's
I'd always seen him around town or talked to him at open mics, you know, and every time I ran into him, we would just be talking about sound and like minute little details about sound engineering. And I thought it was fascinating. So I ended up running into him at this show where my girlfriend at the time was singing. She was singing with Enjoy, and
cool.
And Brody was there running sound, and so I ended up talking to him behind the scenes, and I'm like, "Hey man, are you interested in like producing my album?" And,
Yeah.
And he says, "Yeah, that'd be great," you know. And so we talked.
So your album is produced by Brody?
The first one.
Yeah.
So
It's not bad, man.
I
It's
tracked
pretty good.
all. Yeah. I mean I loved how it turned out. Like I was really proud of it and just super happy. You know, of course, there's always going to be things you feel like you could do better. Like, you'll go back and hear one tiny thing, like, oh, I could have changed that note, but no one else is going to hear that.
No, they don't.
So, yeah, I recorded and tracked all of the instruments and the vocals and everything on the first album myself. Like,
all by yourself?
all of myself, and then exported all the stem files to Brody, and he mixed and mastered it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
He's
so that's
got a great ear.
he does. So
you
and it's nice to have at least one other ear listen to it and
Definitely.
be like, yeah, that sounds good, or no, that sounds too bassy right there, or like, you know.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, that's how the first album came about, was
Cool.
just like that.
So it was really pretty painless.
I wouldn't say painless. No, making an album is hard work. It's
Because
fun.
you did all the instruments.
Yeah,
so
on the first one.
Do you play all instruments just naturally, or did you have to learn the instrument and then figure out what you wanted and play it? Or
I started on guitar, and then I wouldn't say I play all instruments well, but my dad did have a drum set when I was growing up. Mm-hmm. He bought a drum set at one point when I was in my maybe 12 or 13.
Yeah.
And because he's a big Rush fan and he loves Neil Peart,
Right.
so he bought a drum set. I know, right? So I started playing the drums when I was younger, and then But honestly, the first album didn't have a whole lot of, it didn't have any live drums on it. Everything was made, like there was some live kick drum and tambourine, but it was a little more folky, you know? The second album, I played a full, like a kit of drums, the whole album. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, so that one I did all the drums on there, for better, for worse. But like, I don't know why, I was just determined. Also, again, I'm like, I really want to play the drums on my, because when I would listen to the songs I wrote, I would feel what I thought they needed, and I'm like, I think I can do this. So I did it, and it was stressful, but I did it.
So did you produce your own album on this one, or who was your second set of ears on this one?
Okay, so this one, the second album I did with Brian Steele, who his company is called Forge Audio Productions.
Okay.
And
here in Wichita.
Yeah, he lives in Mays.
Okay. And that's Love Over Fear.
Love Over Fear, yeah.
Yeah, so this album just came out just within the last month, right?
Yep.
And so how long were you working on that from 2018 when you finished the one album?
Yeah.
Were you immediately like, oh, I'm going to make another album? Or?
No, I took some time off.
Yeah.
Life was pretty rough after the first album, I'll be honest. Like I finished the album, and then shortly after that, my girlfriend at the time and I broke up, and then I ended up having to move from the place I was at, which I really loved, all within like a week. And so life just felt like it all of a sudden was in shambles for me, and that was unfortunate because I just made this album, and I don't feel like I got to give it enough attention, like in the post promotion of it. Because my life was just kind of, had other things to attend to. You know, life happens and shit happens. So, but yeah, no, I think I waited until it was at least another year. I started working on this second album last November, I would say. Let's think.
Okay.
So it took almost a year.
Right.
From when the first time I talked to Brian.
So it was all during COVID times?
Yeah.
So you got to focus on like just that for COVID times?
Kinda, but I also feel like I had a lot of just like anxiety. Like I'm a pretty like sensitive empath kind of person, and so just the weight of the world was like pretty heavy.
It is. It still is kind of.
And so so the album was hard. There was hard times when I was like, man, this is challenging, and I think making an album always is, or maybe not for everyone. Some people are more studio musicians. I definitely think I'm more of a live musician because, I mean, I even have people tell me, you know, I've had a couple fans say, your albums, you know, they sound different than when you play live, and I'm like, it's almost like they like the live better, and I'm like, well, that's cool. I mean, that's better than recording an album and then playing it live and people being disappointed. Like,
yeah, that definitely.
I think
because then you would be relying too much on computers or something.
Right. Exactly. So. It was. So I think the album started out really strong, and then about in January at the start of the new year, my grandma passed away, and then.
That's a big one.
Yeah, it was pretty tough. And then I got COVID shortly, just a few days later, and that really messed up my mental game. Like the combination of both of those, it really threw me for a loop. I just feel like I kind of struggle with seasonal depression anyways, like during the winter time. Yeah, so all that combined, it was heavy, and I lost motivation on the album kind of. I mean, I was still pushing through, but I just did not feel great, and for about a month, you know. And also, obviously, I had to be quarantined for 2 weeks, and I was like, "Yo, Brian, I can't do this for we got to take like a month off," which I was not expecting in the middle of the album, but it was all right. I ended up getting my head back focused and getting back on it and finishing it.
Did anything personally help you with your head focused, or was it like? You just had enough time of suffering, and you started feeling actually healthy again. Yeah,
it was just a time thing, I think, really having to ride it out.
You, it made you sick, or how did it make you sick? I'm always
fascinated
with COVID. Like, I've never had it yet.
Really?
No,
it made me, the main thing was just I was exhausted all the time.
Yeah.
And I already struggle with fatigue kind of because I have like an autoimmune disorder, celiac disease, and so that can cause some fatigue.
Sure.
Just because I have like some nutrient deficiencies, I think, because of that.
Yeah.
But anyways, so yeah,
that month off was like just what you needed to pump you back up, or
maybe, yeah, I guess so. You could say that. I definitely needed the month off just to heal and get my mind right again.
I do that though. I think everyone does that. It's like you get really infatuated with something and you totally obsess over it, and to the point where you make yourself sick of it. Sort of.
Yeah.
You have to back off, and either you really love it and you go back to it, or you don't really love it and you move on to the next thing. And
maybe that was a good thing, to have a break in the middle or at some point in working on the album, just to take a step back from it, and then you come back and you have a fresh set of ears.
Yeah. And you have a different perspective, even because you've been through COVID, and I'm sure you went through all the thoughts like, what if I wake up and I can't breathe?
Right.
Or who am I going to call? I can't get anybody infected. I can't call mom. You know, that's a bad idea.
Right.
So okay, going on from there, let's talk about the album. Do you have a favorite song on your newest album?
Oh, let's see.
Like right now, I know that it probably will change from now to after you play things like millions of times. Like, do you have a different favorite because of some reason? I would say
my favorites, like, I really like, I like Rainbow, because it's got the 3-part harmonies on the chorus, which I really enjoy. And no other song there has that. You know, I did.
You did them all?
Yeah, like
cool.
Yeah. So it's, you know, it's got the lead vocal and then the 3rd and the 5th harmony. So it's got that really full sound when it all comes in. With the drums and the bass all at the same time. It's just got this nice, like, I don't know, I love the sound of it. So that one I like. And then the one that I'm really proud of, I think, is Make Me a Believer.
I'm gonna get that one. I saw you jamming out.
Yeah, I was
on a TikTok or something like that. That was cool.
Yeah, that
I
one's.
love watching people really love their, like really get into their thing.
Yeah, right.
It's the most important thing.
It really is to feel it. So, and that video was like one of the first times I listened to the mix of that song, like when Brian sent it to me, and I turn on the camera and just listen to it and just let out my raw emotions of how it made me feel. And I was like,
that was awesome.
That's what happened. And yeah, I'm really like proud of that song, because it's different from a lot of my other music. You know, it's a little more, I don't know, like not aggressive, but just like rock and roll almost. It's electric. It's electric, and it's very emotive. Yeah. So
your album's called Love Over Fear. So why did you name it that?
I named it that because I think that is like the ultimate. I don't know. It's like the ultimate answer to the universe.
Yeah.
It's
like 42.
It's like right. Because half the songs on there, I mean, some of the songs on there are about love, and then some of them are about combating fear. And at the end of the day, it's about like choosing that love over the fear, because like the fear is always going to be there. I mean, even when I perform to this day, you know, there's still like a little bit of nerves and like, are people going to like this? Are people going to enjoy this? And at the end of the day, you got to put that aside and just think about like, well, do I love this? And so it's about putting that love over your fear and using that and living from that instead of living from the fear.
Right.
And a lot of the songs I think on there reflect that, whether it's an actual love song or even like on Make Me a Believer, the chorus is, you know, it says, every time I see you, you make me a believer that I could still be something left in this life. So it's about like those people in your life that you love that have that effect on you. Like when you're feeling down and you just see their face, and then you believe that you're still worth it, and you believe that you still can do whatever you're trying to accomplish in life, and have that feeling that they're behind you and that their love is with you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, okay, Harrison, on this podcast, I always ask people if they'll tell us a story of inspiration. And I'm wondering if you might have one.
a story like about how a song was inspired, or just inspiration in
like
general?
In general, it can be a story about how you were inspired, or it can be a story about something that moved you to inspire someone else. It can be just a story you heard about a third-party person, and it's inspiring. You know,
Okay.
you just want to tell everybody about it.
Okay. Well, okay. I guess, I mean, I'll just go with a personal story, I guess.
Okay.
Like, I mean, it kind of just hits on, we didn't get into it that deep, but when I was living in Colorado, I ended up just kind of going through hell. I mean, it's part of the reason I moved home. There was a lot of reasons, but I ended up developing like pancreatitis from something I don't really understand, but I had pancreatitis, and then I had like all these other health conditions at the time that I didn't understand, and I was kind of alone in Colorado other than my best friend. And I had this feeling in my throat that it was like called like a globulus something, but it's like this sensation that feels like there's a golf ball stuck in your throat.
Oh, okay.
And I was having all like acid indigestion and a bunch of like stomach issues, and I don't know if it was part of my celiac disease, but there was just a time where I just I was feeling so lost and so confused and going through all these health issues that I couldn't understand, and paying money to people that couldn't give me answers. But the worst one was this feeling like in my throat that felt like I couldn't, it was like a golf ball in there. It felt like I couldn't sing, I couldn't do anything. It was miserable feeling. I thought it was never going to go away. And I remember like being in the, like just, I was like laying in my bathtub or whatever and just trying to meditate or whatever. And I think I remember talking to God or, you know, the universe. I was like, if you're out there, like, help me, please. Like I think I remember talking about like how, because I knew that I had known at that time that music was what I wanted to do, and I wanted to sing, and I wanted to write these songs that I felt like were placed in my heart, or they came from somewhere, if it's God, or, you know, and so I mean, I almost felt like I was at my wit's end. I felt almost like suicidal, because I was just like, I'm so tired of dealing with this, and no one can give me answers, and my family was being really supportive, but they also weren't with me. They didn't know what I was mentally going through. But I remember just praying really about like, you know, please take this away, because I want to use this gift that you've given me to like share these songs that I feel like you've put in my heart to share. And I'm terrified right now. I don't think I can ever do that again. Right. And now I'm like, my prayers were answered. Like, I'm like, wow, I moved back home, and I made it through all those health issues, and I continued to chase that dream, you know, and here I am 4 years later, having beat that and overcome that feeling that I was never going to be able to do it again. Yeah.
So did you ever find out what it was, or was it just like psychosomatic?
I think it was psychosomatic. Like, it was like almost just like a highly, or like a high anxiety symptom.
Lump in your throat.
Yeah, of like having this, and I was just, I don't know how it went on for months. I mean, it was really like the only thing that would make it go away was drinking a lot, and then you would like forget about it. And I was like, that's not healthy, you know. So it's just like, man, oh my gosh. So yeah, that was a terrifying time, I was so mentally distraught and like depressed and anxious, and yeah, so I just, and I mean, I don't know. I wrote, when I was going through that, I ended up writing a poem. And in the poem, I just said everything that I wanted, that I was dreaming about, and like how I was envisioning how I wanted my life to be. So I went through talking about no more stomach pain and all this other stuff, and getting over this stuff that I was going through. And I made it rhyme, so it was like a song. And I started reading it to myself every day, you know, and I literally think that helped like program my mind that like, hey, you're gonna get through this. Yeah, it's like your mantra. It was my mantra. I was like, this is what I'm doing, and I'm gonna do it, and that's what I did. And it just, and you feel 100% better now. You have your celiac, you don't have to eat bread. And yeah. I mean, so you can't drink beer then? Nope.
Oh man,
I know.
You better get some spritzers or something.
Oh yeah, I know. It's rough. It's rough. It's a rough life not to be able to drink beer, but it's all right.
It's not the end of the world. But
no, it's okay. But yeah, so I would say that's my inspiring story. You know, just
that is good.
that even when you feel like you're at your lowest point and like you think things aren't gonna work out, that you still gotta try to see the light through that, you know, and
Yeah.
like
Sure.
I mean, even one of my songs on the album is called Light My Way, and it's kind of about that. I mean, it's about something different, but it also pertains to all of kind of life in general. I feel like, of asking God or the universe to kind of like show you the next step. Like, will you light my way? Like, show me what to do next, you know?
Right. Because
give me a
sometimes we're
sign.
just out of clues, you know? Like, we're just
Right.
fresh out of clues
Right.
on what the next step is, and you need a little guidance. sometimes.
Exactly. Totally.
So that's
Totally.
cool.
Yeah.
I love it. So, with that, I just wanted to see if you had any parting things you'd like to mention or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would just say you can always, like right now, currently, you can find me live at Chicken and Pickle every Thursday, 7 to 9 p.m. And then I play every other Friday at 6S Steakhouse on the west side.
Yeah.
And yeah, that would be, I mean, it's every other Friday. It's either me or Pat's there, so I'll just check the schedule.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then
And I'll post you on all the links and all the notes.
Nice.
And everything like that. So
Right
you can
on.
Just click the links and find Harrison.
Yeah. And then please just go and please check out the new album, Love Over Fear.
Definitely.
And
It's
hope
great.
hope you guys like some of the tracks, and feel free to send me some feedback, shoot me a message, let me know what's your favorite song, or
Yeah.
you know how you feel about it.
Sweet. We love the interaction, and thanks for coming on the Catch a Pocket podcast, and thanks for catching a pocket with me.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Lori. I appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
You too.
Thanks, Harrison, for being on the show. Thanks for the music. Guys, get out there and check Harrison out wherever you can. I'm going to leave you with his song off his new album, Love Over Fear, called Make Me a Believer. You can check him out on Instagram, Facebook, all the good stuff. And if you're really inclined, get out there to Chicken and Pickle or 6S and check him out. He's really awesome to see live and in person. Tell him I said hi. You guys, I hope you guys catch a pocket you can be proud of. See you next time.
Sometimes I know you, sometimes I don't. I won't let this go, but my heart just won't. I'm lost in translation, I'm lost on the coast of my mind. It's a wasteland, honey. My heart is a ghost. Ooh. It's been a while since I felt anything at all. But every time I see it, it makes me a believer that I can still be something left in this life. I'm not done yet. You say I'm a dreamer, my head's not right either. But watch me come back from this low. I ain't drowning no more. Teary-eyed, wide smile, walk through the door, and it's been a while, but you remember me. Tail between my legs, head hanging low. I've been dealing me a couple blows as of lately. Ooh. And it's been a while since I felt anything at all. But every time I see it, it makes me a believer that I can still be something left in this life. I'm not done, yeah, you say I'm a dreamer. My head's not right either, but watch me come back from this low. I ain't drowning no more, no more, no more, no more, no Every time I see you, you make me a believer that I can still be something left in this life. I'm not done, yeah, you say I'm a dreamer. My head not right either, but watch me come back from this low. I ain't drowning no more.